What's up, y'all? Goofy Rexy here, and hope everybody is doing well, and wanted to make a video and talk about the top upgrades after completing Dark Dimension 5 the first time here. I made a video yesterday and talked about lessons learned and the top recommendations for completing Dark Dimension 5 here. And there was a question in the comments that asked, hey, after you complete your what would you recommend now after completing Dark Dimension 5 for your first time? Like, are there characters that you would recommend upgrading just to be able to complete your second run of Dark Dimension 5? And wanted to answer that question here in this video, and also wanted to kind of expand on some other ideas that I have as well in regards to your first completion of DD5. There probably will be some useful information for players who are also completing their second run of Dark Dimension 5 as well. So I'm sure that if you're in that boat, that maybe you'll be able to get some information from this too. But ultimately, I'm not trying to tell you exactly what to do. I think everybody's roster is in a different place, right? Some things are roster dependent. It depends also sometimes on what level of importance you put on certain game modes. Like, I know I personally value arena and raids. I know most players also value arena and raids, but there are players who do value war and Cosmic Crucible more. There are players who just want to have fun in Marvel Strike Force. So somewhat it is going to be dependent on that a little bit, but hopefully the information that I'll share here in this video will give you some ideas, right, on what you could do, give you some ideas on what makes sense for you, and then we can kind of go from there as well. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, or I guess answer in terms of a question, is should you upgrade characters just for your second run of Dark Dimension 5, right? And I'm gonna say no to that one. That I'm not gonna say it's a resounding no, but it's a strong no. I would say you got through Dark Dimension 5 the first time probably mostly okay, right? Depending on if, of course, you pick characters that you were gonna use in other game that you were gonna get value out of, because you're gonna be using them in other game modes, right? So characters for raids, characters for arena. If you upgraded those characters, then for the most part, if most of the characters that you use were those characters, and I think that going through and running it again with the same characters should be fine. Guarantee that the reason why the first run of Dark Dimension 5 took forever anyways is because you were trying to accumulate the gear necessary to go into Dark to get into some of the nodes. Like, I can't tell you how long I waited between sections. Like, I was done with City and had to wait I think like 2 or 3 weeks to be able to get into Global, and then when I was done with Global, I had to wait I think another close to 2 or 3 weeks to a month before I could get into Cosmic, because I had 2 Mystic characters, right? So in my opinion, I think that the idea here of trying to upgrade characters just to go back and complete your second run of Dark Dimension 5 faster, I think that's, I wouldn't say it's a waste of gear, but I think it's unnecessary to do, especially if the characters that you're planning on upgrading don't really add you any sort of value for your roster outside of it, or those characters that you're looking to upgrade are already performing well in the other areas of the game at the current gear tier level where they are. I think ultimately you're kind of wasting a little bit of gear at that point if you're doing that. So those are my thoughts on that. That's ultimately what I would do. Now, some areas to focus on, I would definitely say, would be arena. Now, if you're completing Dark Dimension 5 for the first time, I think a lot of people will have this sort of like initial like inclination, like this desire, right, to really upgrade Dormammu and get him all the way to G16. And it's because you're like, I want to use Dormammu in Dark Dimension 5 for the Cosmic section. And it's like, when you think about it, you had Icarus, and most likely you brought in Icarus and Cersei. You probably brought in Kestrel. Maybe you brought in T'Challa. You brought in some other characters, right, that kind of got through the nodes pretty fast for you, right? Do you really need a 5-star and a 2 red-star Dormammu just for Dark Dimension 5 again? I don't think so. So for me personally, what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be bringing my Dormammu to gear tier 15. I'm going to be leaving him at level 85 and gear tier 15. He will go to gear tier 16 after my second completion of Dark Dimension 5. I don't need to use Dormammu in Dark Dimension 5. I don't. Like, there's literally no reason for me to do it. Yes, now I do want to get some sort of value out of him, so I'm bringing him up to G15. I may use him in Arena. I'm using him right now in Cosmic Crucible. He's gotten me a couple wins that I probably wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. So very grateful for that. In Alliance War, I'm getting a ton of value out of him. I was able to be another Dormammu team, not Dormammu, but another Dormammu team by using my Dormammu to be able to kind of counteract some of what they were able to do, right? So yes, I'm gonna get a ton of value out of it, but a 5-2 Dormammu is okay at G15, and mainly the reason why I'm saying that is because he's very expensive to G16. He takes 90 of these individual pieces. He takes 90 of them. He's very expensive. It's very expensive, right? And there's some other Mystic characters that I would prefer to get to G16 right now that have higher stars, that have higher red stars, that potentially could be a little bit more impactful for me. Now, you may disagree with me, and that's completely okay. Want to hear what your thoughts are there, but for me personally, I'm going to be building up Agatha. I'm gonna get Agatha to gear tier 16 because I'm using her every day to beat Dormammu teams right now. And I really need her to be able to land that stun on Morgan Le Fay, and being able to get her to G16 will increase her focus, increase probably the chance of me being able, getting her to 5 red stars also probably be able to do that. But if I could ever get the 5 yellow stars to do it, that would also be awesome. But for me personally, like, I'm going to try to upgrade my Agatha because I'm going to prioritize offensively for myself, being able to try to stun Morgan Le Fay to be able to get through some of those matchups. Because to be fair, with Icarus, the lineup of Icarus, Cersei, Agatha, Morgan, Emma, I'm usually able to beat Dormammu teams. The issue is never really Dormammu himself. It's really that if I can't get the stun on Morgan Le Fay, then I'm usually kind of screwed there, right? So personally, I'm going to prioritize that more than or prioritize her more, and I will probably prioritize Dormammu to G16. You may disagree, and that's completely okay, but those are my thought process in regards to kind of how I'm going about my roster and my upgrades. The next question and I guess if you were thinking about like other characters for Arena, if you haven't done Omega Red, I think Omega Red is an okay character to do as well if you haven't done him. I think a lot of people will probably already have done Morgan Le Fay, have done some other characters here too, Icarus, Cersei. I think you may ask, like, what about Doctor Strange Heartless and Wong? I find that the impact is significantly greater with upgrading Agatha as opposed to upgrading Wong and Doctor Strange Heartless. Usually I'm not terrified of a G16. Those characters at G16, I'm usually a lot more terrified of a G16 Agatha and Morgan than anything else. So for me personally, once again, prioritize Agatha over that. Now for raids, should you upgrade your Doom raid characters for your current Doom 2 raids right now if you're doing them, or even your Doom 1 raids? Once again, I think this is going to be roster dependent. I think that there is some value that you could get from some of the characters if you do upgrade them to G16. I would probably lean on the side of holding off though, right? If you're doing Doom 2 raids right now and you're probably going to be pushing towards, there's Doom 3 raids, right? That's in the data mines. We think Doom 3 raids are probably going to come out maybe next patch based on it being in the data mines. It could even potentially be the following patch after that. But there's a trend with Doom raids right now. For Doom 1 raids, the symbiotes were not very good in the Doom 1 raids. It was a massive challenge. When Doom 2 raids came out, the symbiotes were actually fine in the Doom 2 raids. And then there was a new team that was released for the Doom 2 raids for the bio section in the Web Warriors. Now in Doom 2 raids, the Axemen team, right, they struggle a little bit on the first 2 nodes depending on where your stars and your red stars are. So I think that, of course, a lot of people ultimately would want to try to maybe upgrade that team, maybe upgrade your team that you're using for your tech Doom raids. But now that there's a tech team coming, definitely would hold off on G16 any of those characters if you haven't done so already. I've basically damn near G16 every single tech Doom raid character I have for Dark Dimension anyway, so it just kind of filtered out to just also being useful in for the tech Doom raids too. But for your Mutant section with your Axemen, I would hold off, because if the Doom 3 raids come around, there's a possibility that the Axemen team could actually do better in Doom 3 than they do in Doom 2, right? That's sort of kind of a trend that we saw with Doom 1 going to Doom 2. That same trend also as well could translate over from Doom 2 to then also going to Doom 3. So I would hold off for some more information, find that out first, and then make a decision as to whether or not you want to go down that path and go down that road. So though I think if there's any other thing that I would think about here, I just wouldn't try to upgrade for Cosmic Crucible unless that's like your thing. to do and that's what you want to do. I wouldn't try to do anything for Alliance War unless that's, once again, that's your thing and that's what you want to do. I want to clarify too, like once I'm done with Dark Dimension 5 the second time, I'm definitely going to bring up Dormammu to G16, but just based on where my arena shard is right now, I just don't think this is going to really be that impactful. Bringing him up to G16 at 5 and 2. Yeah, I just don't really see it happening. So those are my thoughts, guys. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about doing? What would you probably even make in terms of tweaks and changes to what I even recommend and what I've just talked about as well, guys? Always curious to hear that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video if you haven't like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And then also hit the notification bell so that you know when the videos do go live. And until next time, guys, y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe.